Okay, so now we are recording and we'll get started. So I'm Daniela. I am one of the advisors for physics and astronomy. We are so happy to have you all here, student panel. We're joined by some of the students who are here to answer your questions who are in our majors, and you'll be able to submit questions to us in the chat and we'll try to get those answered by our student panelists. And I will pass it over to Courtney. She's another advisor in physics and astronomy, and she can introduce herself and then we'll pass it over to the student panelists.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm the other advisor for physics and astronomy. Daniela and I work really closely together. I will be monitoring the chat, so please submit any and all questions to me. We'll get through as many as we can. You can also feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions when we are asking for questions. So I will pass it over to Ella.
And also, I don't know if you all can unmute yourself, but you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. But the first question that we're going to start with Ella is just an introduction question. Ella, if you could introduce yourself, your pronouns, major, minor, and career goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Ella. I'm a junior in astrophysics with a minor in computer science. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Yeah.
My name's Grace. I'm a double major with astrophysics and aerospace engineering. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My career goals, I hope to go to graduate school and then research someday. I'm going to pass it off to Keith.
Hi, my name's Keith. I'm a double major in math and physics, track 1. I'm a dance minor. I'm only a sophomore, so I'm a little bit newer than some of the other panelists, I think. My career goals are to go into research, just like a lot of the people here.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior, and I am a triple major in astronomy, physics, and math. I currently do research. I'm planning to go to grad school to get my PhD so that I can continue doing research.
Hi, my name is Marissa. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm double majoring in math and physics, and I'm double minoring in sociology and Korean. And like pretty much everyone else here, I want to go into research and hopefully go to grad school.
Okay, so I think we're going to start with our first question for the student panelists. What was your transition to college like?
So I'll take this one to start with. I had a little bit of an easier transition to college just because I'm from Colorado. I'm actually from Morrison, which if any of you are from Colorado, it's like 45 minutes that way. And so it was actually a really, really nice transition. I was in Smith for my first semester, which is an excellent little dorm. And the community here at CU Boulder is very open and friendly and accepting. And so it was actually really, really easy to like just form a social group, and they kind of just form naturally, which is nice. And I think for this semester, especially with everything being remote, connecting with the people in your dorm is going to be really, really important because those are the people that you're going to be around a lot. And forming those social groups while trying to like maintain social distance and wearing a mask and everything might be a little weird, but I think it's important.
So I'm actually like a commuter student, so I never lived in the dorms. I only live like 5 minutes behind Kit, so it's not really that much of a commute, but I never really had that sense of like community or camaraderie with living in the dorms. So for me, like being really involved in clubs and different organizations was really essential to like making friends and building my own community in college.
I had a pretty different experience. I'm actually an out-of-state student. So initially, like going into college, I was super nervous about not making friends. I found some people in my dorm that I'm still friends with. But I think for the most part, what really helped me get settled in at Boulder was the physics community. I feel like at CU, especially the physics community is really strong. They have a lot of different events. and I found most of my friends in the physics community, and that was where I fit in and where, I don't know, like that's what made me feel like I really belonged. Was as soon as I got into physics, I knew that CU was the place for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say my transition to college, I'm a traditional student straight from high school to college. I'm also in state. But I would say it was a little different for me than Keith, just for like the dorm experience, and more similar to um, Marissa. It's yeah, I would say I found my community a lot more through the astrophysics and physics department, and it took me a little bit longer. It took me like sophomore year to find friends that I actually enjoyed spending time with. So yeah, it took some more time for me, but I found a lot of help through the department.
Yeah, I found I'm a traditional student kind of from Aurora, Colorado. And I would say I found lots of friends through clubs. And I also play D&D on the weekends, Dungeons and Dragons. So that's a good way to find friends. There's lots of different ways you can do that. There are, big club conventions. I'm sure those are going to happen virtually this year. So you can join lots of those and find friends. I also started working at the Idea Forge on campus, and that was a good way to connect with people and make a little money on top of that. So that was real nice. That's been my experience in going into college.
Awesome. And remember, any of the folks who are here, you can submit questions for the student panelists via the chat, and the chat icon should be at the bottom of your screen. So if you're having trouble locating it, that's where it is. But for now, we'll move on to another question. What is one thing that didn't work out or that you failed in, and what did you learn?
Well, so personally, I came into college with the intention of being an engineering major. And I just kind of decided that rather than like dealing with engineering, which is a very difficult major, I found the environment to be really kind of negative. Like it's a very stressful major. So a lot of people tend to be very stressed out. They tend not to take care of themselves. So it was very difficult mentally for me to like be in that sort of environment. So I found a lot of really, I don't know, I connected more with the community in like astrophysics. I just felt like the professors were a lot more open with me. It's a lot tighter of a department. There's not many students, so if you go up to any of your professors, they'll be happy to talk to you. They'll honestly talk your ear off if you let them. So it just personally worked out for me like that, but definitely exploring is the best thing to do in college.
I think the first time I failed a test was in my first semester of freshman year. I got a 39 out of 100, and it was the first time I'd ever really done poorly on an exam. But from what I hear, it happens to a lot of people. You get into college and you realize you have to study pretty hard to get an A. And I learned from that situation, you gotta make sure that you're taking practice exams, you're talking to the professors. Hopefully you have a study group of people in your major, in your class that you can go to make sure you hash out all your questions. I think those really helped me succeed in academics here.
I have a pretty similar experience to Grace in terms of like how my first few tests went at CU. I know for my first physics exam in 11-15, that was like my first midterm ever in college. So I was like, I'd studied a lot, but I was still pretty freaked out. I walked to the exam from Willville, so I had like adrenaline from that, and I froze up on the test. Like my mind stopped working. So after that really awful experience, I kind of had to evaluate myself and think about why I had such bad anxiety during the exam. And then I worked through that. And now me and my friends get coffee before the exams, and we kind of have like a relaxed period 30 minutes before the exam. We don't study physics. Like at that point, it's just like a brain off kind of time. So I think finding what works for you in terms of test preparation, not only in terms of studying, but just making sure you're in a good spot for the exam was really helpful for me later on.
I would just like to say, I think early on in my college career, like especially freshman and sophomore year, I was just terrible at managing my stress. And I am triple majoring, and I work 2 jobs. I am stressed a lot, but also I just wasn't dealing with it in a healthy way. And I would 10 out of 10 recommend, to every single person I know to use free therapy that CAPS offers through CU. You get 6 free sessions a year. It's worth it. Yeah, I would just go to therapy.
Yeah, I'm gonna completely agree with Maddie on this. The therapy that CAPS provides is just absolutely friggin' amazing. Yeah, and it's a great way to manage stress. It's a great way if you have any pre-existing problems like anxiety or depression. It's the perfect way to deal with all of those, and it's in a nice confidential environment, and it's free. You already paid for it with your tuition. You might as well.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the next one. I think some students have submitted other questions.
Yep. So our first question is for the astronomy astrophysics majors, and physics majors can definitely answer this as well. What has been your favorite elective and why?
Formation and Dynamics of Planetary Systems with Professor Nick Schneider. Maddie was my TA for that class, but it's an excellent class. The professor does a great job. I love those astronomy track electives. Highly recommend.
I would also say that Planets and Their Atmospheres is very fun. I also took that class with Nick Schneider. He's just an amazing professor. Yeah, and so those are very fun electives through the astronomy department. They're in the planetary track, but yeah, outside of astronomy, I took some Vikings related classes. Old Norse mythology. That was super fun. I don't know if you're asking for electives in or out of astronomy, but you know.
I've also found that rap courses can be really, really nice if you did get into any specific rap. I was in Smith in the HRAP or honors rap, and we had to take one HRAP class per semester. And my second semester of my freshman year, I took Vietnam Wars, which, I mean, I'm not a history guy. I really kind of despise history. It was just the only elective that really, but that was actually a class that was amazing just for modern perspective on stuff and for all that kind of stuff. And it's easy to want to only do classes in your major because that's what you're interested in. But I think branching out, especially on electives where you can branch out, I think that's actually a really, really good thing because it gives you a better perspective on life and it teaches you how to be a person, not just a physicist.
I'll totally second encouraging taking electives out of your major. I love physics as much as the next person, but I guess last semester I figured out I really have a thing for sociology. I've always been interested in social justice, but something about being able to study social issues at a deeper college level was just mind-blowing to me. I really enjoyed it. So I would definitely encourage you to take something that you're slightly interested in that you maybe hadn't considered before, and it'll probably turn out to be a good time.
We also have some cool classes in the space minor program. I know I took Intro to Human Spaceflight, which is taught by a former astronaut, Colonel Jim Voss. So that was really cool. And it's pretty crowded, so you might not get in the first try, but it's awesome. You get to hear all his anecdotes about space, and that's a fun space-related one too. Might be an elective. It's definitely upper division, so I think it's ASEN 3036, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for those answers. So we will move on to the next question. So how do you get involved in research, and what research opportunities have been available in your major?
So I think I have a really good opportunity to answer for this because I started looking for research opportunities my first semester at CU Boulder, coming in as a brand spanking new freshman. And so the first thing that I did was ask some of my professors about how to get research opportunities. And they said, well, you can look up what labs there are and send them emails. And that's a good idea. You can do that to see if there are positions open. The other thing is that there's a physics email blast that goes out every single week. Sometimes there are research positions listed in there. And so just read through that and keep an eye open for that. I actually, my first semester put out a ton of things and didn't hear anything back for months. And so my second semester of my freshman year, I went to a couple conventions through the astronomy department. And that was really good. I got some interviews with that. And I ended up getting a research position. I currently work at the liquid crystal group. It's part of the soft condensed matter research lab. And they're actually the lab that I emailed my first semester of freshman year. And so it's good to put out a ton of different tendrils almost looking for undergraduate research positions. And then be patient and just wait for them to get back to you. It's because a lot of the time something will come through. It just takes time.
Yeah, I've had.
Go for it.
Okay. I've had 2 different research positions while I've been at CU. The end of my freshman year, I got hired into Eric Cornell's group in the physics department. And then I started at the beginning of this summer working, I worked there for 2 years, and then I started at the beginning of this summer working in LASP in astronomy research. And I think all of the advice Keith has is phenomenal. I think it's really good. Occasionally there's research symposiums that the astronomy department and the physics department put on where professors will talk about the research they're doing and how to get research. 10 out of 10, go to those. Those are super helpful. But if I'm gonna be honest, neither of the research positions I've had are positions I applied for. Professors are super busy and they don't know anything about being an undergrad. They've completely forgotten. So as Keith said, they won't get back to you for very long periods of time because they get busy and they just forget about it for months. And second of all, they are really likely to hire undergrads that they already know. So if you're in class, if you're participating a lot, if you get to know the professor by going to office hours, even if you're just asking really stupid questions, which is what I did in Eric Cornell's class that I was taking, if they know you, they're way more likely to just reach out and be like, hey, I need an undergrad. Do you know anyone, and or are you interested?
I feel like I have a slightly different experience from Keith and Maddie just because I don't do my research at CU directly. I work at NIST in the atomic standards division. I'm working on atomic clocks, and I'm in the hiring process at another company in industry. So professors definitely help, but if I was gonna give suggestions, definitely the email blast, like Keith said, that's where I got my first position. And then again, just applying to everything. Even if the position is something or is in a field of physics you're not 100% into, I know a lot of people like quantum information, but you gotta start somewhere, So I would suggest applying to any position, even if you're not 100% interested in what it is, just because there might not be positions available in what exactly you want to do, but you'll probably enjoy it anyway. And then a second thing I kind of want to touch on is networking. We've talked about that a little bit, networking with professors and other people at symposiums. I would also suggest keeping in touch with people that you meet. So making sure you have some way to contact them and they have some way to contact you, because that's also kind of how I've gotten my second position. So just make sure you keep your options open and always be networking with other people and apply to everything. Just full send it, go for it.
I personally think that experience is really important. So if you can't get a position at a research lab, I don't think that there's anything wrong with going out of your industry. So personally, I was offered an aerospace engineering internship in my freshman year for General Electric. It definitely isn't something that I was particularly interested in, but I think that just putting yourself out there is really, really important. And then Also, there's some really, really great different companies and organizations just in Boulder. They won't necessarily like outwardly go to schools and things like that. So you have to be very proactive in the way that you look for them. So I was actually supposed to work for NOAA this summer, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I was supposed to do research in Japan. Unfortunately, the mission got canceled due to COVID. Hopefully it'll be on next summer. But that wasn't something that I found through the department or through a professor. That's very much something that I had to be proactive and go to the website and like look for. So just being really vigilant. If it's something that you want, you have to really work for it.
And as kind of a follow-up to that research question, when do you feel, and I know this was touched on a little bit, when do you think the best time is to start looking for that research?
Right away.
Yeah.
Soon as possible.
You might not get a position right away, but start asking. And because the thing is, if you get to your junior year and then you start asking around, people might be like, oh, this random junior is starting to ask about research. We'd rather go with these people that we've already heard from, that we already have been in touch with. And so even if you don't get a position in your freshman or sophomore year or anything like that, if you've been asking and if you've been talking around, people will be like, oh yeah, I remember, he might have sent me an email a while ago. Well, let's look into him. And so even if you don't get a position really early on, it's good to have your foot in the door kind of thing.
I didn't want to start applying when I was a freshman because I was like, I don't have research experience. They don't want to hire me. I'm not qualified. And I wasn't qualified, and they shouldn't have hired me. But if they wanted someone doing really, really good, fast, well-informed research, they would just hire a grad student, and they do. The point is to train you how to do research. Like, that's why they're hiring undergrads. So even if you feel like you're not qualified, it's fine. You're not really supposed to be.
I'm going to add something in here. I'm not a student, but we also have classes. So if you all don't have research yet, we have Astronomy 2600 and Physics 2600, which can give you some great skills in programming that can be really useful for research later down the road. And you can always talk to your advisor to look into prerequisites and stuff like that. But there are ways that you can kind of build your skill base to prepare for research, even if you haven't started yet.
Yeah, kind of just one additional note. I know I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry, that's just who I am. Programming skills are often drastically overlooked by undergrads and stuff like that when they're one of the most important things in the field. They're one of the reasons that I got a research opportunity in my second semester of freshman year is because I have a lot of experience with coding. I went to a STEM high school, like a STEM-focused high school. And so I already knew Java, I knew JavaScript, I knew Python, I knew a whole bunch of these. And that they look for that because they see that as you have the framework for us to teach you. We don't have to teach you how to code in Python, then teach you how to do the physics. They can just put on the physics and then you can do the rest.
Although I will say I hated computers in high school, and one of the biggest fears I had going into physics was that I didn't know how to use any sort of coding. It's not that hard to teach yourself is the thing. It's like very, very intimidating, but it's totally doable. I taught myself MATLAB at my old lab. Like, I learned Python really quickly. It's pretty fast to pick up, so don't be intimidated by computers.
And if all else fails, just Google, copy, and paste. That's most of programming.
Everything's
Awesome.
on GitHub. You didn't hear that from me, but it really does help.
Thank you all for that. Definitely helpful. All right, changing gears a little bit. For those of you who are doing more than one major or minor, was it difficult to set up and fulfill your double major?
So far, I haven't had an issue with it. I'm double majoring in math and physics. I started off in Calc 2, first semester freshman year, just because I took the AP test So I got a little bit of a head start, but not really. And then over the summer, I took 2 math classes. So now I have most of my like basic math requirements met, and I'm only going to have to take 1 math class per semester for the rest of my time at CU. So I think it's definitely manageable. Like if you sit down with your advisor, they'll definitely help you kind of do the math or help you visualize how your schedule might look, and it's probably not as bad as you think it is. So I would definitely encourage you to look into it if you're interested, because it will probably work out.
I've had a slightly different experience than Marissa, and that's just because I came in with a really awkward amount of college credits from my high school. And so a bunch of my requirements were like all off. Like they gave me credit for physics 2, but not credit for physics 1, and just a whole bunch of really bizarre stuff. And so last year that worked out pretty okay. This year, because of the majors and minors that I'm doing, like I said, physics major, math major, dance minor, I currently have 8 classes, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then 1 class on Tuesday and Thursday. And so it can get really awkward and a little gross and a little uncomfy at points, but at the same time, if you know your limits and you talk to your advisors and you set things up in a way that you're comfortable with, it will be totally fine.
I probably should have mentioned that I had a few transfer credits from high school, and that helps, you know.
Yeah, so I'm triple majoring astronomy, physics, and math. I had a head start because I had just a ton of AP credits, but I haven't needed to take any like summer classes or anything, and I'm graduating in 4 years, so it balances out. But yeah, basically advisors. I meet with at least, I've had like 12 advisors since I've been here. I meet with one of them at least like once a month. I've had dozens and dozens of meetings where I just like meet with a bunch of different people and I'm like, hey, does it look like I'm gonna graduate? And I just like ask different people that as often as possible. Because honestly, even if like they tell you nothing new, it's just comforting. It's just comforting to have another set of eyes on your schedule to make sure like, yep, you're gonna graduate, it looks good. Or like, hey, did you think of this? Yeah, so meet with your advisors often.
Yeah, that and the degree audit online. You can, if you're thinking about doing a second major, you can do a what if degree audit and it'll tell you which like categories you have already filled with whatever courses you've taken. I'm doing an engineering major with this one, and there's lots of areas where they overlap. And I had to make a huge 4-year plan like freshman year to make sure that everything would work out. Yeah, having that plan and having the tools through the degree audit to make the plan really helps.
Kind of just going off of what Grace just said, if any of you guys are thinking about starting a double major or are thinking of transferring majors but haven't decided yet, it's always a good thing to run that what if audit to see if there are classes that you're taking right now or like classes that you would be taking in the future that wouldn't cover the same credit in a different major, if that makes sense. Because sometimes classes can double dip, like Gen Phys for majors, yeah, that will cover a Gen Phys for non-majors. But at the same time, there are often some math courses that won't necessarily transfer to a math major and a whole bunch of other things. And so if you're considering doing a major that's not physics or adding a double major onto there and you want to cover as many as possible starting in your freshman year, it's often good to just run that degree audit and see what classes line up and set yourself up for that. I did that with my, I think it was discrete mathematics course. I hadn't yet declared a math major, but thought I might. And I was like, you know, I could take linear algebra right now, but it wouldn't be the for math majors version. For that, I need discrete. Let's take discrete first. And so that's just a good way to set yourself up for success.
I just want to add, I love that all of you mentioned advising. That made my heart grow and get warm. Yeah, I think that if you're thinking about it, be proactive. Keith specifically mentioned like math classes. That's a big one that comes up because you want to make sure that you're proactive in your planning. If you're thinking about doing a math major, making sure that you're taking the classes that would overlap if you're thinking of doing a double major. And so meeting with your advisor multiple times, but also early on to start that plan can be really helpful. So I'm gonna promote myself shamelessly here.
I would like to say though, I did not add my other 2 majors until like well into my sophomore year. it has messed like a couple of things. Like I'm taking a freshman level math class that I've already taken this year because of the weird like I didn't plan ahead thing. But like if you're considering adding another major, you have plenty of time. I have friends who are adding majors now. Like you can still make it through. Just yeah, don't stress too much.
Yeah, that's a great point. You don't have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your 4 years, 2 years, or your career. So if you decide later on to add stuff, talk to your advisor right when you're starting to think about it. And even if when you start to think about it, it's later on, just talk to your advisor essentially so that you're planning as soon as you start thinking about it.
And that's a great segue into our next question. So let's go a little bit more into advising. So can you all discuss how advising has helped you explore academically or personally during college? And what are some tips to make the most of advising?
So Danielle, I'm gonna break your heart a little bit. I actually didn't have a super great experience with my advising, and it was not my advisor's fault. It was not the program's fault. It was not the school's fault. It was just my situation coming into college and my own personal stubbornness, because I'm like that. But I only went to 2 meetings over the course of the entire year with my advisor. And in both of them, it was mostly me saying, I'm going to do this. And she was like, oh, okay, that works. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing because going to your advisors with a plan is always a good thing. Because it helps you set up different things. And she actually did help me a lot in being able to check that my plan was on track, that I'd be able to get things done. Where it fell a little bit short was just because she was a freshman advisor and I had a lot of extra credits. She didn't know what some of the added requirements were for some of the upper level classes, and she didn't understand some of the different things that I was trying to make happen. And that's totally okay. And so if you have frustrations with your advisor or problems with advising, that's totally fine. Just make sure that you can get those covered, like either by talking it out with your advisor or by doing planning on your own.
I had a pretty similar experience. I think what benefited me most from meeting with my advisor, I only had 2 meetings, was she taught me how to do a degree audit. So that was pretty nice. She also helped me declare my math major. So that's helpful too. I don't know, like know yourself. Going into some advising appointments, I was told recommended against doing something that I felt really confident that I would be able to do. And then I kind of regretted that later. I feel like it could also be the opposite. Like if something is suggested to you, but you don't feel like you could handle it, trust yourself and adjust your schedule or your plan accordingly.
So I was the type of person that was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I don't need anybody to tell me, especially in your freshman semester so technically you enter in as like an astronomy major, right? And then you're given the 2-track option to either be astrophysics or just to stay in astronomy. And so they give you like this like calendar of like all the courses that are required for each track. And so based off of that, I was like, I can totally do this. Like I know what classes I need to take, but I kind of just like did not have a bueno freshman year. But I was really, really lucky to have a really great advisor. Like I used to like cry in Evan's office. He's unfortunately no longer in this department, but I miss him a lot. He was a great advisor. He just gave me a lot of advice, a lot of really great life advice, a lot of really great advice on how to manage my stress. I think just being able to unload on another person is really nice too. And they never judged, like no matter how bad my GPA was or how bad I thought I was doing in class, like my academic advisor would always be like, this is actually pretty normal in your major. Like the average GPA in this major is not the best. And it's okay if you struggle in these classes. What's important is that you know how to pick yourself up afterwards. And that's the most important thing that academic advising taught me was just, you have people on your side. You're not in college alone. And you're paying for these resources in your tuition. You should utilize them as much as possible. It's just all on you,
Yeah, adding on to that, I've struggled with mental health in the past, and it was affecting my academic performance. And I went in to see my advisor, and she helped me sort it out, helped me figure out how to drop some classes, to make sure that I'd be able to keep going on track. So they're always there to help you personally or to help you figure out your academic pathway. It's a great system.
Yeah, and I would like to say the most success I've had with advisors isn't necessarily going to advisors and being like, what should I do? It's me going to advisors and saying, this is what I want to do. How can I make that happen? So there's been a number of advisors that I've been to who have told me like, this is what I think you should do. And I've just totally disagreed with them. So I didn't do that. But that's kind of the point of seeing many different people, many different times. So I talk to my professors quite often, professors that I trust, about like, hey, what would you recommend? What classes should I take? What do you think I should be doing right now? And then I'll go to my advisor and say, hey, this is what my professor told me, who's in the field I want to be in and who I trust. How can we make that happen? So like, full disclosure, I've skipped like probably like 7 classes prereqs, especially in the math major where I just won't take a required class. I wouldn't like recommend that as a rule, but I am saying that to match what my math professors have told me, I've gone to my advisors and been like, hey, they said that I should take this class, which is only offered once every 2 years. How can we make that happen? And then they'll like talk me through it. So yeah, I think use a grain of salt, but also they have very good advice. You just don't have to follow it. They're just there to help you. Oh, and if any of you, I know that Gretchen Lang is now a freshman advisor. If any of you have Gretchen Lang as an advisor, please say hi from me and also see her as often as possible. She's incredible. She's been an incredible advisor.
Thank you all for those nice answers. All right, so this question is a little bit more specific, but I would love to hear what everyone thinks. So somebody asked, are there any books or websites that you would recommend to teach yourself coding?
So the one that came to mind immediately is Stack Exchange. Stack Exchange is an amazing little forum that people post questions on, but when they have specific questions about coding. And so that's something like, I can't get this certain like package to work and I need to, like, how do I do this? That's great for specific stuff. For a more overarching coding class, like how to teach yourself, I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Personally, sorry.
Go for it.
Personally, I like using Reddit. So there's a computing and like hacking subreddits, and everyone's really kind. They'll recommend you books. They'll recommend you like different solutions to things. It's a really welcoming community. It's really nice just like starting out.
YouTube's great too.
I'll second Reddit for book recommendations. I haven't really taught myself a lot of coding. I took a lot of classes in high school, but I write in Python a lot for my research position, and I like the Murox books. It's just like a pretty thick book. It's very detailed, and it has little exercises for you to do, and I kind of like to use it as a little reference book. So if I'm ever trying to figure out syntax or something, I can just whip out the book and it'll tell me. I don't have to dig through Google results. I really enjoy those.
I also think Khan Academy has a really good introduction one too. It's just like really, really, really basic. I don't think it's any like specific language, but it's just like teaching you general syntax and like just the general language of it.
If you're like me and you genuinely didn't know anything, like really didn't know anything about coding when you came to college, I would recommend just Googling how to download like specific like coding language or program or whatever, like how to download MATLAB, and just pure basics. If you just Google like novice MATLAB tutorials, there's free ones that show up, and some of them aren't great, but like they'll never take away knowledge. You might as well like try them. So yeah, just if you're starting very basic, just Google it.
The other really nice thing, CU Boulder offers free licenses for students for a ton of different ridiculously expensive softwares. Wolfram Mathematica is amazing. We have a license for that. MATLAB is amazing. We also have a license for that. And there's a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head, but like we have, if it's a scientific coding language or program or anything like that, we probably have a license for it, which means that you guys have a license for it. And so if there's a program that you want to try, but you have to pay for it, just Google CU Boulder and then the name of the program, and it'll probably have a link.
I think it also helps to get an IDE for certain languages. Like Python doesn't come with like a text editor usually, so you can get PyCharm is what I used, and as a student you can get the professional version for free. I've heard good things about VS Code. There's just ways you can make it easier on yourself by using a good text editor that has like highlighting capabilities and debugging abilities to help you tell where you're going wrong.
Yeah, Python is, from what I've seen, the most like prominently used in physics, just because it's fairly easy to use and it has a ton of capabilities. And the two that I've worked with, the two IDEs for it, are Jupyter Lab and Eclipse. Those are both excellent, but yeah, they're all good. You just have to figure out which one works best for you.
I love Eclipse. I would second that. If you're looking into learning languages and you're trying to figure out where to start, I would second Python. Also, CU does have a LabVIEW license, and there's a lot of good LabVIEW videos on the National Instruments website. So if you're going to do a lot of lab work, it might be helpful to use LabVIEW just because it's an easy way to kind of get your instruments up and running. It wouldn't hurt to look at it a little bit. It might be kind of cute on your resume. So it's another suggestion. It'd probably be pretty easy to pick up just from what's on the internet for free.
Great resources, everybody. Thank you. So for our next question, we're going to go with, how have you explored at CU, and what is the best thing you have done so far?
Okay. Something I did that really helped me last year was go to like the Getting Involved fair. I don't know how that's going to work this year, but it was just a good place for me to start to see what kind of clubs are available to me, and that kind of thing. Also just events in general that are kind of advertising ways to get involved. I got involved with the LA program through just like a little informational meeting they had. So definitely just exploring meetings or other opportunities. It only takes 30 minutes of your time. I don't know, that's how I explored. I didn't really get involved in a whole lot though, just because I had like quite a few jobs. But I think the best thing I did at CU was get involved in that LA program, because it's really just made me reconsider how I learn and how other people learn. And I love to help kids with math. So it's been a really great experience for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And yeah, forming communities or just like building connections with people is really, really important in college. I had a friend who said that high school is teaching you how to do college, college is teaching you how to do life. And so that doesn't mean that you need to be studying 24/7 and making sure that like school is extremely important. Your classes are extremely important. Social groups are extremely important, listen to me, important. And like, building connections and learning about yourself is just as important as classes. And so it's important to learn about yourself and learn about how to incorporate a whole bunch of things into your life while also staying safe and including academics and all that.
For me personally, I'm Asian. But CU Boulder isn't necessarily the most culturally diverse of schools, like as you might can tell. So for me, it was really important for me to connect with my heritage and to be able to find ways to do that. So I joined the Asian community here at Boulder, so that's the Vietnamese Student Association, Asian Unity. And I'm also a sister of Sigma Psi Zeta, which is the historically Asian female empowerment sorority. And we work a lot with nonprofit groups for women's rights and like combating the violence against women and things like that. So for me, like finding like outlets for my passion projects, because as much as I love doing math and science, there's just those times where I need to do something else. I need to feel like I'm being productive and like doing like some good in the world. So getting involved in those communities and volunteering has just been like, it's broadened my horizons. I feel like it's made me a better person. It's definitely been much better for my mental health, like rather than like being so cooped up in like school all the time, like building those communities, but also like investing in my community makes me feel better.
Yeah, I'll be honest, some of the best things that have happened in college, nothing against our department, love our departments, like they do great things. But some of the best and most rewarding things I've done haven't had anything to do with them. So right now I work for a union. We are unionizing CU Boulder as best we can. But also like freshman and sophomore year, I'm a lesbian. I found every queer person in the physics and astronomy department and made friends with them. And that's been a really, really valuable thing because some of the stereotypes about physics are right. I'll be honest, but yeah, it's been very valuable to just carve out your own space and time to like explore who you are as a human being. Yeah, this is a very like, you will develop a lot as a person over this period of time, and I think it's important to let yourself do that without like getting to one track, if that makes sense.
There's
Was the mic issue on Grace's end or my end?
Yeah,
I think that might have been Grace's end. I noticed that too.
Grace, I don't think we caught much of that, either internet or mic issues.
We can always come back to Grace. Sometimes it helps to unmute and then like remute and try that or try the internet connection, but we can always come back and loop back to that answer.
Yeah, so Grace, we'll come back to you if you want to answer the previous question. But for now, we'll move on to our next question. And I definitely want to get to this question because it's really important for this semester. What are some tips for remote learning?
Yes, the good old COVID question. So remote learning is a bit of a mixed bag. There are some really, really nice parts about it. There are some not so nice parts about it. And there are also some things that go along with it that are interesting. So we had remote learning starting kind of halfway through our semester last semester, as I'm sure many of you did coming from high school or other colleges. And so remote learning is really, really nice because you don't have to get up for your classes until the second that they start. And you can do all of your classes in just your underwear sitting on your bed. I did that for many of my classes. And that's really, really nice because it affords you more flexibility in your classes. The problem is that it affords you a lot more flexibility in your classes, which means that you also have the flexibility to not pay attention as much, to fall asleep during class, and in all honesty, to just fail in a lot of areas. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. We've already talked about failing is not a bad thing at CU Boulder. If you absolutely just destroy a test and do horribly on it and get an F and end up getting like a C in the class or something, you'll learn something from it. It doesn't matter. And I feel like with remote learning, that's going to be an even bigger thing because there are more opportunities to fail, but there's also a lot more opportunities to succeed. And you can build your schedule to be even more tailor fit to your needs and your wants for a college schedule. The biggest piece of advice that I can offer all of you guys is attend your lectures in person. I know they're going to be recorded, do it anyway. And also rewatch them because it's so easy to get sidetracked when you're like watching a lecture on the same device that you play video games on or watch YouTube on or anything like that. And so it's really important to make sure you get everything. And so if you doze off in the middle of a class, that's fine. Go watch the recording. Make sure that you actually understand what's going on in each of your classes.
So the thing that I like doing is called time blocking. It's a technique that's used by like Teddy Roosevelt, and I think the New York Times called it the #1 way to be the most productive. So I kind of treat school like a 9 to 5 job. So I do everything school related between 9 to 5. So I block out an hour for lunch, and like I block out all my classes, and then all of the time in between is I schedule like study periods. So like if I have physics in the morning, then right after that, I'll just study physics for the next 2 hours. I'll have lunch, and then I'll go directly to my next class. So like creating a very rigorous schedule for yourself is really key. Humans are creatures of habit. The more that you can build on those habits, the more powerful that they'll become. And because like this new transition to coming to college is such a big shift in your lives, this is the best time to build new habits. This is when your brain is the most malleable and the most ready and prepared to like build new habits. So 100% like block out your time. You don't have to do the 9 to 5 schedule like I do. It's what works for me. I like having those like designated periods where I can like work on clubs or like do my passion projects or like just like watch some Netflix or something like that. Like I like treating it like a job because school can get so heavy at times. So really designating times for yourself to do self-care and just take care of your mental health is so extremely important. But know that it's okay to fail and that your GPA doesn't define you, okay? That's super important.
Kind of similarly, I've found with online learning that it's like really helpful, at least for me personally, to be strict on myself. So like getting up and putting on real clothes, you know, and kind of like maintaining a normal routine, even though I don't have to get out of my pajamas. Like it helps me feel more productive and like signals to me that it's time to work, that kind of thing. Additionally, I love politics. I'm always on Twitter. I found last semester that I would open Twitter in another tab a lot of the times during my Zoom meetings and just be on Twitter. Don't do that. This semester, I'm definitely going to be hard on myself. We're going to have a no Twitter rule. If you really have a problem with that, over the summer, I took my classes on a tablet, so I wouldn't be able to like have anything else going on my tablet while I was in lecture. So you could use your phone or also a tablet to help with that. And then additionally, I feel like scheduling, like Ella said, is very important.
Other kind of important thing, this is just a good rule for always, not just for now with remote learning, but it's even more important for remote learning. If at all possible, do your work and like your schoolwork, your job, everything like that in a different location than you sleep. Because otherwise it's really, really easy. Like having the physical separation of those things, it lets your brain learn when it's time to work, when it's time to sleep, when it's time to play. And if like, especially with remote learning, it's easy to just be like, oh, I'm going to do my remote classes in my bed. I'm going to do it at my desk right next to my bed. And that can get really, really like, not really stressful, but you start to feel like a zombie because you're never going out, you're never getting any new stimulation, and it feels really, really awful. And so as much as you can, try to get to a different location. Even if that's just like outside your dorm, underneath a tree, or in a study room. I don't know how study rooms are working in dorms this year, but just trying to find some way to switch up your location to like maximize the amount of stimulation that you get.
Just checking. Is this working? Okay.
Yeah, that's
awesome. I think the song was getting to it. Yeah, especially finding a place outside of your bed was very helpful to me. And then finding a way to stay accountable, finding someone to, you know, check your work with and work on things with, or someone you look out for in lecture on the Zoom names, or chat with, you know, either text-wise or set up a separate face chat with them. That helps me a lot.
Thank you, everybody. So we only have 4 minutes, but there's one last question. It's a really great question, so we'll just answer it quickly. What is the best way to get involved in the physics or astronomy community at CU Boulder?
Go to your classes. I'm just kidding. I mean, that is a great way to get involved in the community. But being an active participant in classes is a really, really good way to meet people and to like learn what other things are of interest to you that are of interest to people in the same community. There are also, last semester at least, there were a lot of different events that were hosted, whether it was the symposiums to find research or just like, there were a lot of different things. And so keeping an eye out on the email blasts for when those are happening, as well as just connecting with people in your classes is usually a good way.
The physics department has a lot of different groups. I know there's SPS, like Society of Physics Students. There's also Women in Physics, which does not meet as often as SPS. I haven't heard anything about how those are gonna work out this semester, but I know that after attending some of those like groups last year when I was, let's see, fall semester, I ended up like getting a study group out of it, and I had some people I could like bounce my answers off of, and then definitely talking to people in classes. I know it's going to be a little bit difficult this semester, but maybe for the future, keep that in mind and be willing to talk to other people in physics.
So I personally created like a physics group me. So if you don't know what group me is, it's like a messaging app that like you can attach to your phone number, to your Facebook or whatever. So what I like to do was I would like email blast my entire like physics like section. So in like the freshman year ones, those are usually like 900 kids or something like that are taking those classes. But I would actually like message a lot of them and I'd be like, hey, like this is a group me, like we can post like discussion questions or like you can ask questions. I personally like would send people my notes, because for me mentally, if I know that another person's looking at my notes, I make them look nicer. Like if I know that they're for me, I will make them look like trash. Like it doesn't matter to me. But like having the mentality that this is for another person really inspired me to make them like really, really clear, make them really nice looking. So we'd like exchange notes. We would have discussion questions and things like that. You can also create a Facebook page. I know some people are interested in like creating like Discord servers and things like that as well. So you can just like pop in whenever, like ask questions and just hang out and things like that. So like, don't be afraid to message people. It's okay if they don't reply back. You're anonymous. It's not like super embarrassing or anything.
I cannot overstate the importance of the app GroupMe. It's just amazing. That's one of my main modes of communication. Our class did this as well, where we made like a GroupMe with everyone in our physics classes. Yeah, it's both very fun. Study groups are so helpful, so good. Yeah, it's so useful to just find people in your major, and like it's a little awkward over Zoom now, so you just have to be more direct and be like, hey, do you want to like Zoom call and do a study group session? I think you just have to be a little bit more bold socially over Zoom. So yeah, just fully go for it. Make a study group. It will serve you very, very well.
Seconded that group me thing. That's awesome.
Okay, so we are at 2:30 now. I want to just thank all of our student panelists. They did an amazing job answering all of these questions. If there were any questions that you weren't able to get to, come and talk to your advisor, and we can try, if it's like a student perspective that you want, we can try getting you connected either in student organizations or in other ways so that you can hear that, or if you have other questions specific to academics, and of course we can answer those for you as well. So there are also reactions that you can use in Zoom. If any of you want to give the student panelists a round of applause, we can do that virtually. Cool. Okay, so you're all free to go. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you all
Thanks
for
for
coming.
all the great questions. And thanks to our advisors for hosting it and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing the student panel. It was awesome. It was really helpful.
Yeah, you all were wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm sure I'll see you at some point for an advising meeting or something. So.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to meet with some of you for the first time, even though some of you are graduating almost. So
I'll probably come bother you to see if I'm on track to graduate at some point soon.
please bother me as
Works
much
for
as you
us.
want. It's not a bother. It will be a pleasure meeting with you. Okay, so I am going to end the Zoom meeting
It was
now.
nice to meet y'all.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good